So they started thinking, with whom are we going to leave our sister? She's a virgin, she's young, she's attractable. Who can we leave her with? Who can we trust, in other words? They started thinking and thinking and thinking until finally they all agreed to leave her with whom? The pious worshipper. Being the most pious of his people, you will not find a better person for this job. So they all trusted him. They approached him and asked, are we able to leave our sister with you? Did he say, yeah, great, not a problem, get her along. I've got a beautiful room, beautiful bed for her, ready. No, a pious worshipper would not want this. He immediately said, no, I do not need this problem. I do not need this obstacle before my Lord. I am a worshipper and that is all I do. You bring her in my life, she's an obstacle. She's a problem between me and my Lord. So he refused their request. They persisted and persisted. Please, we have no one else but you. Please, can you take care of our sister? Until finally he agreed. On one condition, I've got my house of worship here. She does not live in my house. She gets placed in another house near my house. I don't want any interference, any disturbance from this creation. So they placed her in a house next to his place of worship. And she remained there for some time. Every single day, seeing he's the caretaker now, he's got to cater for her. Every day he will make her food, place her on a tray, open his door, his house, his door, place it immediately in front of that door, close the door, lock it up, go back inside and worship therein. This is the way he did, how he worked. Now we all know Satan, a'udhu billah minhu, nasrallah al-afiyah. He attacks man how? Not immediately one bang, no. Step-by-step approach. Once he sees you comfortable with one sin, one step, he will come and attack you with a sharper arrow, with a different step. So this satanic whisper, deceiving liar, this two-horned ugly beast, approached the devout worshipper softly. He was encouraging him, saying to him, you should take care of her. She's a young girl, young lady. It is not proper for you, he said, to allow her to come out of her house, go all the way to your house during the day, where men will look at her and they may come upon her, they may harm her, they may hurt her. It is not proper for you. You're a devout worshipper. You do not want her to be harmed. He whispered and whispered and whispered. The first arrow found its position in his heart. Step-by-step approach. At first, keep her far away from me. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't want to even see her. But now Satan has convinced him to take the food straight to her house and place it at the door of her house and run back home, lock the door and worship therein. This happened for some time. He kept doing this day after day, day after day, day after day. Who comes? He's felt comfortable now. This first arrow is hit him. He's comfortable. He has no problem. He feels no negativeness, nothing Quran. Satan, his companion, comes back and says to him, if you were to take this tray and place it inside her house, yeah, she's got to open the door, she's got to expose herself and pick up the tray, take it inside her house, it is more proper. There is more reward, he said, in doing so. Whisper, whisper, whisper. Arrow number 2 has found its place. He made her food, placed it on a tray, not in front of his door, not in front of her door, but opened her door and placed it inside and ran back home, locked the door and worshipped therein. Arrow number 2 has found its position, its mark. He kept doing this for some time. He was comfortable. He was relaxed. And then his companion came back with a sharper arrow this time. See, every time he sharpens the arrows. The first arrow is weaker than the second arrow. The third arrow is sharper than the second arrow. And that's how it works. You know, when you go fishing, if you want to get a fish, a good fish, you don't put the small hooks, do you? You get the big hooks. So you get a big fish. Small hook is not going to work. The small hook is small. It'll get a small fish, small brim. I don't know much about fish, but I'm telling you that's why I know it's small brim. But if you want a big fish, you want a shark, you get a big hook. And that'll get a big shark. So the arrows is getting stronger and sharper as it goes along. So now he's sharpening the third arrow. He treads slowly to this person and he starts whispering to him. If you were to talk to her, just talk to her. The poor little thing is lonely. She's in a state of fear. She needs company. Needs company. Just talk to her. Just a bit of talk. Don't be long. Just something basic. Whisper, whisper, whisper. What happened? Arrow number 3 found its mark. Corroding his what? His heart, making it darker and darker. You know, when the rust hits, what happens? It eats the rest of the part of the whatever it hits. When cancer hits, what happens? It eats the body within slowly. And these arrows, they're hitting his heart and they're slowly growing and growing and growing. Why? Because he's accepted the former arrows. Once the arrows are broken from the start, Satan's got no ability on you. But he's finding himself an easy catch. He's accepting his arrows and he will continue. Talk to her for a while. That will put her to ease and comfort, he said to him. The whisper, and thus the arrow hit his heart and it grew darker and darker. So he took the food inside her house, ran back to his house, locked the door, do not worship, went to the top of his building. That was the condition, that he speaks to her only from the top of his building. So he calls out to her, Ya Fulana, I am speaking to you. Come out and speak to me, or from the window, or from the door. So this kept going for a while. It continued for a while. And when they felt comfortable with each other, Satan sharpened his fourth arrow. So he came back to this devout worshipper. This devout worshipper, you know what a devout worshipper is? He's a person that worships 24/7. Whether in his sleep, whether awake, whether he's eating or drinking, he's always worshipping. This is a devout worshipper. This is how he was like. But he's getting weaker and weaker and weaker because the arrows are finding their target. He comes back to him and says to him, you know, you're talking to her from the top of the building. You got to scream out. You got to yell to her. Why? Why don't you come down to the bottom of the building, stand at your door, don't come out to the street, at your door, while she stands at her door, and then talk. He was trying to put logic in him. Satanic logic. So the whisper was carrying on, the whisper, it hit him, the fourth arrow found its target, growing darker and darker and darker. He was comfortable with this. He started talking from his door while she came out at her door. Ya fulana, marhaba, ahla wa sahlan. He saw them comfortable. Now the shaitan comes back again, this deceiving liar, and attacks him with another sharp arrow, but sharper than the fourth arrow. This is number 5. He said to him, why does she come from the door of your house, go to her door, she can sit down